Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on Project Sidewinder some more, and we had a lot of things change. Oh yeah, there's some things getting changed from last time, and I'm going to go over them a little bit because there was a lot, and a lot of things need a lot of explanation. So, starting from kind of the top, you kind of see a lot of these things cleaned up, just some basic wording up here mostly. Where was it? Added some images here just to make things nice and simple and easy and lovely and all that jazz. So the big thing, however, was the signature maneuver. Instead of having like individual pilots having individual techniques, I opted to go with more of a, I will say, a universal approach. Everyone can always perform all of the techniques. That's one of the big things I wanted to get across. You can always perform a barrel roll. You can always attempt to perform a high yo-yo. You can always do these things. Nothing is saying you can't do these things. However, when you select your signature move, your maneuver, this is kind of like your signature maneuver, you reduce the cost by 2. And some of these literally means that you don't have to pay anything for it. If your signature maneuver is a barrel roll, you don't have to pay anything for it. You're just moving. You're able just to perform a maneuver, and that's what you're allowed to do. Not to necessarily say that's the best option or the worst option, and maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that is like the last thing you want to do, but you have the option now. It's a lot cheaper. Now, most of these are all in red because I need to just go through these and kind of patch them up once combat is wrapped up, which is today, by the way. But it's things like barrel roll, which you're just going to move to the left or the right, just directly left or right without changing your facing. If you're facing directly north and you choose a barrel roll, you're going to move over to the left or move over to the right that far. You aren't going to change any of your facing. Break turns, you can exceed the 90-degree rotation angle. Bushwhacker, you can break a radar lock, which, like, wow, that seems really useful. Like, yeah, you still have to spend 2 techniques just to immediately break a radar lock, with minimum 2 techniques, possibly 4, or you can just try to break it naturally. Break line of sight, or do something like that. Make sure they can't actually get a lock on you. Cobra is one of the odd ones. Technically, it would be, the more accurate term would be a Pugashev's Cobra, which, if you've never seen a Pugashev's Cobra, it's fucking nuts, and it's really cool, and I've always liked Pugashev's Cobras, because I always think they look neat. For those who don't know, let's go Pugashev's Cobra. This is a Pugashev Cobra. Well, this is actually a Cobra maneuver in which you literally like tilt your plane up, then it goes backwards and you readjust yourself. It is literally designed to try to get behind your enemy, your foe, or more accurately, just perform it in air show, because that was really the only people who even attempt to perform it. And I added that in because I think it's cool. It's one of the more expensive ones, including things like Featherfall. You can descend, but you don't gain speed. Maybe you want to gain speed. That's a good idea, usually. The Herbst maneuver is technically a better Cobra. That's why it's technically easier to pull off. But it's like, move 2 inches, make a 90+ degree rotation, continue your movement. Continue your full movement. Which it's like, okay, you have to move forward a little bit, then you're allowed to continue your move in a different direction. But you're mandatory have to go above 90 degrees. Let's see, like the high yo-yo, move forward half speed, then just rotation up to 180 degrees. Pretty much you can turn yourself around completely behind you because it's a high yo-yo. The other like really weird one that I put in was safe landing, which is entirely dependent on the location where you're at, so that's why there's an X there. The cool bit is another weird one where you do like a really tight, pretty much roll in the air, which reduce speed by half, stay in place for the movement. Actually I should say is stay in place. Reduce speed by half, stay in place, descend. This doesn't seem very useful, but when you realize that you can reduce your speed by half and then immediately descend, and someone might be able to, you might be able to avoid someone going right into your ass, yeah, you're doing pretty all right for yourself. Split S is another weird one. It's a lot of just maneuvering around. Stall recovery, you can recover from a stall, obviously. That's probably one of the most difficult maneuvers to pull off. Tailwind and unload, which a lot of these do involve increasing, moving, or doing something. I'll probably add in like 1 or 2 more to kind of wrap things up in that regard, so I don't really gotta think about it too hard. Relationships can maintain relatively the exact same because, well, it works. Let's see. Yeah, then we have all our panache and survival. Now, this is the section that I added last night in almost a fucking fugue state of like, this is perfect clarity. I know exactly what I want to do here. Welcome to air operations, missions and combat. Pretty much you have your mission. Your mission is very simple. It's what you're going to be doing. It's close air support, escort, interception, patrol, and recon. Obviously, your mission is the session. That's the point. You're going on a mission to do something. You're a mercenary air squad. You're not a mercenary, let's talk about feelings squad. No, you're doing something. This is the thing you're doing. And the thing you're doing is usually going to be broken down into those main 5. Now, there's a lot of room that you can do for these 5 that kind of add things up or change things. We're going to patrol an area with a shit ton of bad guys. The entire idea is that we have to try to, find locations and report back. That's the mission. We're patrolling, but not really trying to engage. Or we're doing an interception. Ignore everyone else, kill that pilot, or like kill that, kill their main thing and then bug out. It doesn't matter. Like everything else is secondary. Or hey, escort this bomber that's gonna pretty much win the war effectively. Or hey, escort this civilian plane to safety. Or hey, intercept this cargo plane, or intercept everything except the cargo plane, because we need to pretty much knock out all its air support and force it to land at a location we want it to. It's kind of like you have a lot of different options for these, and that's why they're kind of broad. That brings us to air combat. Now, I had to over explain like way too graphic detail of like what movement is. And it takes place on a table with no hexes, squares, or other immediate markings. Free to move anywhere their plane can move. Their speed indicates how many inches, which I say 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters for the metric minded. Is this entirely accurate? Of course it's not. Technically, I think it's like 2.56 or something like that. But pilot will be able to move in such a direction. As such, it is generally recommended to use a representation of the jet in either a rectangle or square. I recommend squares personally. Hence why we have the Lynx F9 there. Pretty much anytime anytime it says move or anything like that, you're going to have to complete your full movement. You can't take a half movement. If you're going 5, let's say you have a speed of 5, you're going 5 inches. You have to move the entire 5 inches. You can't stop. You can't say, I want to move 3 inches and then no. When something says, you're going to move half and then do this, you're going to move 2.5 inches and then perform the maneuver. That's kind of the idea. That's why speed is so important, because you can kind of get a little bit more room. But if you're going too fast, well, good news, if you're going too fast, so then suddenly you may not be able to actually kind of save yourself in that regard. You're kind of fucked in a way, and you might overshoot target, you might undershoot. But if you're going too slow, you might stall out, or it's like one of those things. If you're going too slow, you may not be able to catch the target, or worse, you're going to stall out, which means you're going to start rapidly approaching the ground, which is usually going to be absolute death. And nobody wants to die a violent death. Well, mostly people don't want to die a violent death. I don't know who you are. But yeah, so and the big thing is about when it comes to rotation. When you move to a location, you can pretty much you can rotate yourself up to 90 degrees. I asked so many goddamn people, all the people, do you think you can eyeball 90 degrees? And most people said, yes, I can eyeball 90 degrees. 45 degrees, people were a little bit like, well, I should be able to. Some people were a little less confident about that. That's why I said like 90 degrees. Once you finish your movement, you can rotate yourself 90 degrees in any direction. And now that's important because if you rotate yourself, let's say 90 degrees one direction, you can't just say, oh, well, I want to turn back around now. No, you're going to have to make a turn. It's a little bit more complicated to move around. That's why overshooting your target in air combat is actually really dangerous, and why there's things called the rotations. You are rotating around each other, trying to get a good lock on them, or trying to get their inside so you can shoot them and they can't shoot you. It's kind of a back and forth. That's why being behind somebody is so important, because you can follow them. But if they pull off something like a push, a cobra, they may be able to pull up real fast and get behind you then. But if you're going a lot slower, maybe that doesn't actually benefit them at all. Or maybe they overshoot it and now they're way out of order and you have the advantage. Because air combat is 95% movement. It is 99% being able to move properly. And because it's that, I wanted to get this just right. Because I was scared that if this didn't turn out right, it was gonna break. And if it broke, it was like something is wrong and I'm gonna have to fix it. Repeatedly. So I think I did these relative. I think it'll work. I mean, I think, is it perfect? I don't know. I can genuinely say I don't know. It might work, it might not. I need to actually just gaslight my friends into doing this. I actually even told them, being like, yeah, we're doing this. And that brings us to the structure of combat, which this is another kind of weird one, but I wanted to get this across. We have the phase system, which is broken down into momentum, action, and refresh. The momentum phase is at the start of the round. Everyone's going to move up to their movement. No ifs, no ands, no maneuvers, no anything. This is literally your plane. Since your plane is a fucking plane, it's going to go forward. You can't stop it. You can't change it. This is just, we know them, we're moving forward. That's also kind of when it comes down to things like having the advantage, having the drop on people is really useful, because you can move into an attack position far easier than they can during that initial momentum. Because they're going to go forward and they might say, well, yeah, there's bandits on our 6, and they're going to have to try to pull out. The second you're behind somebody, you have the advantage on them. They're the ones they know they're on the defensive. They can't retaliate. They can't fight you, really. They're not going to like, here, let me pull out my gun and just start shooting behind me. No, that's not a thing that can really occur. So you're kind of moving, and now you're on the defensive. You need to turn around and get behind them. And so that initial momentum phase is kind of, you can almost say, like a setup phase of that round. It's everyone moves, everyone kind of tries to determine where they are and in relation to each other, and then the first set of actions begin. And the action phase is broken down into passes. Because what happens is the first pass, all the pilots are going to act in initiative order. The second pass is everyone who has not either gotten blown up or they're rendered inoperable, like you're going down, you've been blown up, pilot is dead, things like that. As long as that's not occurring, or you haven't selected the refresh action, which gives you all your tokens back, you are going to go again. It's the second pass. Everyone's going to do. You're not refreshing any of your tokens. You're not refreshing your health even. It's pass 1. Everyone goes. Pass 2. You have 2 people who drop out. They say, well, I can't do this anymore, or I've burnt too much health. I've taken too much damage, and I can't really afford to take anything else. I need to get my defensive tokens back. And I want to get my, my actual health back so I can continue the fight, so I don't die. They're going to refresh, get everything back. Somebody else is, third pass. Everyone else, you have another few people leave. Then you have then you have another pass in which the last person refreshes. Everyone starts at the top of the momentum phase again, and everyone starts again. What this is here to represent, and its very core, is momentum is your initial movement of the jet is moving forward. And the passes are kind of your way of those minute details, those turns, those actions pilots are doing in the moment to moment that allow you to do things. If you don't have the tokens to do it, you can't do it. If you have no aggression tokens and you don't want to burn any of your health and you're not going to hit their defense, you can't hit them. You can spend the token, nothing's going to happen though. You're burning nothing. It's you firing your gun into nothingness. You might frighten them. Yeah, that might be something like just the fact of like, oh, well, I want to put in one attack token. I'm going to hit you, and they're like, oh, I'm going to put in 2 defense tokens, so you can't hit me. So it's like, oh, okay, you've spent more than I have. I come out on top. Next pass, I can try to attack you again. My guns go wild, but you're still kind of in my threat range. Now you're panicking, and I have an advantage, which is something I want to kind of get across. Is just these little advantages and little problems that the pilots are being forced to make. You're ringing, aren't you? Okay. Let's see. All right, one moment. There's a ringing, and I can't see the ringing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna say a gamer move. We're gonna do, as they say in the hood, a gamer move. Because the thing is, I can't actually hear what's being recorded. So I want to just check some things. So give me one moment. No, you're still going. Well, okay, let's do some checks. You know what? Let's do it. Let's check. Show player, unmute. still there. It's a lot lighter, though. Yeah, no, it's I can still hear it. That's the thing. I can still hear it. But it is lighter. Yeah, no, welcome to Notepad needs his new fucking microphone because this one is giving up. This one has given up at this point. So actually let's see. Let's see how it's working. All right. Okay. You hear that? You can't tell what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to force the microphone. So let's do increase the threshold. If I increase the threshold, I don't hear it. Okay, so this will work for now. I think. Yes. Yes, it will. It will work. I say it will. Okay, so. Oh, there it is again. Wait a second. It wouldn't be picking up this, would it? That's crazy. No, 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 no. That's not doing. So yeah, we're doing live on stream, everybody. Live on stream audio fixing. It's great. Everybody, live on stream audio fixing. Yeah, I have the preview open and everything's great. I love it. Okay, so the music is muted. Hear that? That shouldn't happen. Okay. Is it feedback? Now, you guys can't see this now, but I can see it on OBS. I can see the audio input slowly increase and decrease. You can even probably listen when you're hearing it. You can probably hear it. That's that little thing in the background. It's a little. I don't know what's going on with it. All I know is that it's annoying, and there's no reason for it. I've been trying to figure out a good reason for it. I cannot find it. So I guess we'll just do it without music. Nothing in the background, I guess. Maybe that's causing something, which I don't know why it would. Unless it's picking up something it shouldn't. But that's kind of silly. So, as I was saying, as we get back to things, as I'm like, apologies for this, but this is just, I don't know what's been going on recently. It's kind of stupid. And I'm probably a lot quieter now, so pardon. Where was I? So, yes. We have all our basic things here, and now I'm going to be working on initiative. Pretty much the goal today is to maybe get the entirety of combat done, maybe not. I don't know yet. It's kind of a dependent on a lot of different little factors. So let me just... Yeah, it has to be the odd. Okay, it has to be... I wonder. Now, this is the real gamer move. This is the real test of endurance. If I do this, there it is. I can see it rise. Okay. Music is very faint, but I can make it work, sort of. But yeah, today's going to be combat day. I'm going to try my best to do it. You don't know how you realize how paranoid I am right now. It's great. So, apologies if I'm speaking kind of weird. I am literally just like eyeballing the audio input capture to see if it wants to do that weird electric hum spike. I don't know why it doesn't. I genuinely don't know. But if you notice anything, tell me, please. I'm begging you. I could do emergency patchwork, but I'm only human. So, let's see. When combat begins, all pilots add their aggression brains together to form their initial initiative. At this point, the pilot may use any brain or technique tokens before the first round to increase their initiative by the number paid in. The pilots... Let's see, the pilot with the highest... Well, actually, with the pilot with the highest initiative... Actually, pilots will act in, it would be ascending order. Actually, yeah. Actually, pilots will act in ascending order for momentum, for the momentum phase, but will act in descending order for the action phase. Let's see, there we go. Pilots act in ascending order for the momentum phase, but act in descending order for the action phase. Pretty much how I see this in my noggin, how I'm seeing this in my head, is all the pilots are going to be acting pretty much the slowest pilots are going to have to determine their initial momentum first, while all the fast pilots are going to be able to determine their momentum second. So it's kind of this... It's kind of like it's a weird way of kind of like that sense of saying, okay, this person is going to be here, here, and here. I can now reposition myself to put myself here, here, and here. It's kind of that, you know, in that initial bit of, haha, I've got you. But not to say that you can't get it turned around on you. But once that momentum is done, you can then kind of look at it and be like, all right, you're here now, and you're here. So everyone kind of knows where everybody is. Because again, getting behind your opponent is the most important thing in the actual game. So, pilots will act in descending order for the momentum phase, and will act in descending order for the action phase. Oh, God. Okay, yeah. Descending order for the action phase per path. Per pass. Initiative. Actually, if a group of pilots are ambushed by bogeys who are not initially picked up by radar or sensors, they will lose the initiative. They will lose the initiative for the entire first round, and then it will continue as normal on the second. So how this is that, you know, you've been ambushed. They've descended from the clouds. You didn't know that they were there. They know where you are. You're fucked. Get ready to fight. Those guys are going to be acting first. Since they're going to be acting first, they're going to be the ones being able to move into position first. They're going to be the ones kind of being able to tell where you're going before you even have an action. And that also means they're going to be able to get behind you a lot easier. That first round, you're going to have to move everything, and then you're going to have to see where they're moving. And then when everyone's determined that, the action begins, they're going to be able to actually attack you first. They're able to go and get their initial volleys off, get their initial radar locks on that first set of passes. If they're smart, being ambushed sucks. You could take a missile or two. And if you take a missile or two, you may want to refresh early, which is kind of knocking you out of the passes. So it's kind of this, it's a way for you to pretty much try to compensate for the fact that you're losing ground. And the fact that you're losing ground, you've lost the momentum, you've lost the, kind of that initial initiative. You're now struggling to recover. It's hard if you get ambushed, because being ambushed when in these things is hard. It's hard to recover from them. But if you ambush somebody else, if you jam their radar or something like that, yeah, you can fuck them up pretty bad. You can take out a much larger force if you ambush them. Yeah, doesn't matter how good you are. If you take two, if you don't know where the enemy is and you take 2 missiles to your ass, doesn't matter how good of a pilot you are, you're still in a fucking tinderbox. Like, you're still gonna die. This isn't some, like, amazing revelation that nobody's ever heard about. So, okay. I'm not gonna put in the defensive version of this, just because that's not really gonna be a thing. It's not really, yeah, that's not really gonna be a thing. What I usually do is I like to put in like, okay, you've been ambushed, they get a free one, but it's like, if you're assaulting a defensible position, the defenders get a free round, just because you're approaching and they have plenty of knowledge of your approach and you're going to kind of suffer for it. But this one, because you're in planes, no, they're just going to aim AA at you and fucking kill you. It's amazing what I can then shoot you with a missile can do to people. I mean, like, oh no, I'm in danger and I'm gonna die. I can also just shoot a missile at you. That's a good, parry to most conversations. Like, yes, I've been shot by a gun, and now I'm in danger. Let's see. Hopefully the ringing isn't there anymore. I'm praying the ringing isn't there. And in case people think I'm going crazy, I'm not. I could hear it. I can hear it on my side sometimes. Okay, so we don't need initiative. It would be, let's see. Okay, we've determined initiative. Now we have to determine, gonna be a momentum, because we're just gonna be moving up to your speed value. That's gonna be determined by the planes. It would be the action phase. All right, these are going to be the actions. So a pilot can perform, let's see, a pilot can perform a single action per pass, allowing them to reposition or perform daring feats in the air. A pilot will pay the cost they are able to. The pilot will pay the cost that they are able to and perform the action. Opposed actions will have both sides ante up. Actually, how do I want to word this? Because pretty much the idea is, let's say for like, I want to attack somebody. I am going to attack you with my cannon. So what I would do is, each plane is going to have a defense value. Let's say you have a defense value of 3. Let's say you have a defense value of 2. Now, I'm going to pay in my aggression tokens. I'm going to play my 2 aggression tokens to match. I'm going to hit you. Like, I've hit your defense. But you pay, but that's kind of like the, first bet. First bet, my aggression, 2 aggression, and then you're going to pay in, you're like, I'm going to pay in a defense. That's the second bet. And then you're like, I'm going to pay in another aggression. Because I really want to hit you. I want to hit you really badly with this cannon. And then it's kind of that second bet. You're kind of that first initial one. Everyone's kind of gambling in, and it's kind of like, when do you pull out? That's kind of the big idea. Like, when does it stop being like, when can you afford to hit it? Like, why don't you just spam all your defense tokens right away and like just avoid the first hit? Because you can do that. Like, you can fight it, but you're probably going to have other people, and everyone's going to also know that you don't have defense tokens anymore. So usually the best option is to not be in that situation. Which I think is always kind of important in these kind of games, is to realize that being in combat is probably the worst state of affairs you can be. If you don't have like a decisive victory already in place, or you can kind of afford to take a hit or two. If you can't, then don't. Like, just don't be in a situation. Pay the cost that they are able to and perform the action. Opposed actions will have both sides paying into a pot to oppose one another by paying a certain kind of token. Actually, what I should do is, what I'll do is before initiative, put tokens, and you actually refresh, refresh. What would be a what's a good term for a token that isn't gonna refresh? Resource? No, spend tokens? No, pretty much what it is, what I'm trying to get across here is that there are going to be tokens which are going to refresh naturally. These are things like your pilot tokens, the plane handling tokens, etc. These are things that you have that every time you refresh, you're going to get some more. But there's going to be some tokens which are going to be like, expend tokens, which are like resource tokens. Like, by virtue of spending them, they're gone now. Because you have spent the missile token, you can't get the missile back. You're not recalling it, you spent it, it's gone. Like, you clearly blasted that thing out with the intent of killing somebody. So, let's see. Did I give it a name up here? So actually, okay, no. We'll break it down. We'll say there are going to be talent tokens, plane tokens, resource tokens. Actually, no, talent tokens, plane tokens, resource tokens, and no, okay, those are going to be the actually and how do I want to do it? Yeah, those are going to be the main ones. So we go over here to tokens, tokenomic, and what we'll do, we'll do tokenomics. I hate that term. I love this term, but I hate it at the same time because I made it. Tokenomics. So let's see. Pilot will have a certain number of will have a number of tokens available to them to use, represented by a number of different let's see, different spendable objects. These are broken down. These are broken down into talent, plane, and resource tokens. Talent, plane, and resource tokens, which are further subdivided as how do I want to word this? Kind of like rechargeable, not necessarily like rechargeable. The refresh tokens. What's a good refresh synonym? Revive, restore, brace, fortify, strengthen, energize. These would be regenerating, always regenerating synonyms. Rehabilitate, rebuilding, improvement, recovery. Okay, no, we'll call them that. We'll call subdivided as recovery and expendable tokens. Subdivided varieties. Recovery tokens are gained back when the pilot enters the recovery phase. Let's see, recovery tokens enter the refresh phase. I should say, why do I decide to do this? Name them all the same goddamn thing, because I fucking hate myself. Let's see, recovery tokens are gained back when the pilot enters the refresh phase. While expendable tokens are once spent are gone. Actually, no, we'll do recovery, expendable, and variable. Recovery tokens gained back, while expendable tokens are spent when they're gone. Variable tokens will change. Well, actually, variable tokens can be spent and changed. However, they signify important aspects of the plane itself. So then we break it down. Talent tokens, which are going to be tokens which are tied, which are directly tied to the pilot themselves and their abilities. All the talent tokens are technically actually all the talent tokens can be refreshed up to a maximum of the pilot's talent ranking. Up to the pilot's talent. but they may gain more. They may gain more by filling certain conditions. Filling certain conditions. I'm next to my ally, who I have a rivalry 1 with. I'm going to gain a technique point. This is refreshable. You're always getting more of these. This is like your key resource that you always want to use. However, we can do 2 plain tokens. Actually, then we'll do like a little description of what they are. Plain tokens. Tokens which are tied to the plane's attributes. Plane's attributes, these can be spent. These can be spent to augment the pilot's abilities. As well as be expended, as well as be changed to reflect the current state of the plane. And then we'll kind of list off what they are, because we want to kind of list off kind of like what they are in some ways, and then we need to do resource tokens which are tied, so you like which are tied directly to an object that the pilot has or can use, such as missiles. If I can missiles. God, I always want to mistype missiles because it's just weird enough. Such as missiles, the plane cannon, or leaflet plots. Often once spent, they are gone. So we take this number of tokens available to them because we need to balance out like what are tokens? Why do they operate the way they do? So what we can do now, this is going to be the cursed option, otherwise known as let's make a table, because tables save lives. And for some reason, I've decided just to fucking just go ham on this. So this is just my life now. Token type. Then we're going to do a insert column to the left. We're going to signify the token type right here. And then types of tokens. And then like a basic description. We'll put it like right there. We type in talent. Talent tokens are directly tied to the pilot themselves, fulfilling certain conditions. For example, let's scroll up. Let me just make sure I'm getting all the talents correctly. So it's going to be recovery. So it's going to be aggression, recovery, brains, recovery, defensive, recovery, technique, recovery. Here we go. These are literally your pilot attributes. This is not complex. This is literally just how it is, and I'm telling you what they are. So we don't need you anymore. So I could probably do something like this. And then we have plain tokens, because plain tokens are important. What kind of plain tokens? Well, we have handling, which is a recovery ability. We have speed, which is variable. We have actually height, it would be altitude, which is variable. And what would be another good one? Handling, speed. Actually, ECW, and then ECW, which is recovery. You have a lot of little stuff you can do. That's one part of this game that's going to be a little bit weird. You guys have a lot of these little tokens to manage, and that's something just like I've had to balance around, and there's only so much I can do. So resource tokens, and these are going to be like missiles, which are going to be an expendable token. This is going to be the cannon. This is plain cannon. Recovery. You have to pay your plane cannon to actually do it. Now, if you have a heavier cannon, you can shoot it more times. But if you have like just a light cannon, you can shoot it once per round because it's just a little pattering of bullets. You can't really shoot it a whole lot of times. It's not really designed to do that. So we do leaflet, fuel pod, which is expendable, and or leaflet pod, expendable. And then we put tokens on which are directly tied to an object the pilot has or can use, such as missiles. Goon squad, go. It seems like a lot of fucking tokens to manage, and you would be very correct on that assumption. These are a lot of tokens to manage. And that's the problem. It's great. Okay, so everything should, I can adjust some of these later. Actually, I should do that. We broke down templates, subdivided. Yeah, variable tokens are like speed and altitude. That's kind of judging like how high you are. If you are really high, you can expend that token to go down further. You can say, I want to descend and change the token's kind of value, you could say. Instead of having 4 altitude tokens saying that I am sky high, you can go down to 2, increase your speed by 2, but you're kind of lowered to the ground, which is useful when you are trying to do things that you need to be low to the ground to do. It's a variable token. If you have no altitude, you're on the ground and dead probably. If you have no speed, you've stalled out. You're gone. Like you've kind of burnt out. You no longer have that anymore. And so that's kind of like a problem when you're like, I need to ascend, but I can't lose any more speed. That's when you spend things like, I can get technique to, I can burn a little bit of my technique to tailwind and not lose any speed when I ascend. Because if I don't, I'm gonna stall out. So when a check comes up, the pilot will need to spend their tokens to succeed at it. If they are able to spend it, they are able to perform it. However, if they are opposed, they will instead enter a betting match with the opponent. The pilot will put up the initial amount, then the defender, vice versa, until one pulls out. How do I want to run this? Yeah, until one pulls out. Yeah. Part of me wants to put in a mechanic. Let's think. Part of me wants to put in a mechanic to prevent people from endlessly escalating. That's the one thing, like, how do you prevent people from endlessly escalating? Being like, I put one down, I put one down, I put one down, endlessly trying to, like, one-up each other. We can... I can do, like, three passes, like, three bets kind of thing. Would that work? Kind of like the... Actually, no. No. These expender tokens succeed if they are able to spend it, they are able to perform it. However, if they oppose or enter a betting match with the opponent, pilot will put up the initial amount, and then the defender, vice versa. Continuing until one pulls out. This can last a total of three bets on both sides. Actually, a total of 3 bets on both sides. Yeah, so this can last a total of 3 bets on both sides. If there is a tie, then the attacker is successful. A pilot may decide to pull out, pull out earlier, and recover half of their spent tokens. Half their spent tokens, rounding down. A pilot may decide to pull out and recover half their spent tokens, rounding down. Half of their spent tokens, rounding down of a single type. Okay, so if you put in, let's say for example, you want to try to pull off a maneuver, and you can use technique and handling. If you put in 3 technique, 3 handling, you can't pull this maneuver off. Like, you're fucked. You're being opposed by somebody. Then you can draw back 3 of your technique, because you put 6 in. You can draw 3 of your technique, but not 2 technique, 1 handling. Yeah, let's just do recover half of your spent token. Half of your spent token, actually spent recovery tokens, but not any expendable or variable tokens. If you put in 2 speed to do something and you lose and you need to pull out, you're still going to lose that speed. Kind of the idea that your pilot is trying to do something and they it's one of those things, they flinch for half a second or something doesn't go right and they kind of bug out. They've already kind of spent the resources leading up to it, but now they need to pull back a little bit. Like you kind of put yourself at a disadvantage, but you get something out of it. If you put in 2 missiles trying to kill somebody and they miss, then you're not going to use it, especially when it comes down to things like, actually I should say, see, half of me, I don't know how to call the cannon, because the idea is that you can only shoot the cannon a certain number of times. Actually, I'm gonna call this a variable. I'll call this a variable one, but I'm gonna have to explain it a little bit. Oh god, yeah, cannon's a little bit of a weird one. Yeah, we'll call it recovery, so you can kind of pull back. It's like you're not taking the full shots. Not any expendable or variable tokens. Okay. The attacker is successful. Pilot made the attacker pull out earlier and recover half their spent tokens. Recovery tokens, not expendable. So with 3 passes, it would be pilot. Pilot antes up, and he's up. Defender matches. Defender matches. Pilot puts up more. Defender matches. Pilot puts up last, puts up last amount. Defender matches or pulls. If the pilot, if the kind of the attacker pulls here, they get all their stuff back. If they pull here, they get all their stuff back. But it's kind of like whoever pulls first. So you as a defender might say, they've put in a lot of attacks to actually hurt me. I'm going to pull out here, get all my fucking defensive tokens back, and, you know, like, I succeeded. You know, like, I've made, like, a conscious effort to even, you can even do it right here. Like, I know I'm not going to be able to beat this, but I can recover something. So the defender always kind of has an advantage in that regard, but I kind of want it to be that way. But it's kind of a back and forth. I can't really make a good call on it because it's weird, and weird things are hard. Yeah, that'll do. This'll work. Check comes up. I will need to do this. Yeah, so tokenomics, structure of combat, explain what the tokens do. We do initiative. Okay, so pilot will pay the cost to perform the action listed. So we want to do our basic actions. So basic action 1, we're going to do maneuver. What is a maneuver? The pilot performs a maneuver by paying the technique. Let's see. Pilot, actually no, we'll do maneuver, which will be technique. Will be technique and handling. The pilot performs a maneuver. Actually a standard maneuver. I guess just performs a. I call them something special. No, I don't think I even called them something special. They're just maneuvers. Yeah, performs a maneuver. Let's see. The pilot performs a maneuver, resolving its effects. Move. Yeah. So move. The pilot move. Actually, let's see. The pilot moves up to their current speed. Speed in inches. We'll go and give them the brake action. The pilot. Actually, we'll do speed. The pilot reduces their speed by, it would be, what would be by 1? Yeah. Reduces their speed by 1 to 2. You can reduce it by 1 or 2. You don't get a 1 or 2. By 1 or 2. And then we're going to have accelerate, which is going to be a speed maneuver, which is the pilot increases their speed by 1 to 3. Actually, 1 or, do we do 1 or 2 or? No, we'll do 1 or 2. So that's kind of the idea. Like, you can accelerate. You can try to accelerate or you can try to brake, kind of in the same thing, but you're always reducing your speed. Their speed by 1 or 2. So that's kind of like the signature. That's kind of like your idea what you want to do here. You're augmenting the speed thing. Let's see. You can actually moves up to their current speed in inches. Technique handling. Okay, so let's think. Okay. Actually, we can do target lock, lock on. See, lock on. Brain. The pilot spends actually no, it would be brain / ECW. The pilot attempts to lock on with a lock on to a target. To a target that is currently in front of them. So it's kind of like anyone facing your current direction, kind of going forward. You can attempt to lock onto them. Actually, we'll do in a 180 degree. So it would be. Yeah, so it's kind of like a 100 degree arc in front, 180 degree arc in front of them. As long as they're there, you can grab it. That's the idea. Because you need to get a lock on oppose. Then we do opposed by brain slash ECM. Yeah, opposed by brain slash ECM. So if you have an ECM of 2, let's say for example they have an ECM of 2. They've got electronic warfare. You have a ECW. You have, let's say, 3 ECW. And let's see, do I have any dice in here that I can use? I'll use the D8s. I like the D8s. Let's say you got 3 ECW, and we'll say you got 3 brain to work with. You say, I'm going to spend 2 of my brain. Actually, no, you can even say, like, I'm going to spend 2 of my ECW. They're like, I don't really want to get locked onto, so I'm going to spend, you've beaten their ECM. Then they're like, okay, I want to spend some of my brain to oppose it. So they say, okay, you've entered an opposition. They put in 2 of their brain to oppose you. This is the second pass. You're like, oh, all right. I'm going to put in 1 brain and 1 there. I've already beaten you. Now they can decide, I want to pull out. They can recover 1 of their brain. But you've also burnt all of your ECW and 1 of your brain to do such. And if they say, okay, I'm done, cool, you got to lock on them. You spent a lot, but you've also done a lot. So maybe that's what you want to do. Or you can also try to underbet. Being like, yeah, no, bet them if you want, because you now have a lock on them, and now you have the advantage of shooting fucking missiles at them. So let's see if we've done that. Arc in front of them, puts my brain ECM. How do I want to do this? I see you. Don't think I can't see you. Good. Every now and again, when I go off, I can see the little audio input being like, I don't want to go high. Now I get to check just to make sure. Give me 1 second. Gotta turn that off. And then I gotta go here. And gotta go here. Gotta go to the show the player. Gotta show this. Okay, that's fine. I guess we're good. A little quiet, but welcome to the Notepad add-on experience. Requiem. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I can genuinely tell you I don't know what this audio issue is. My friends and I have like workshopped it. I think it's just a mic issue at this point. I should get a new mic. I can. I know which one I'm going to probably get. My only worry is that it's really sensitive. And it's like, so it's kind of like, do I really want to get that? I can just use the Patreon money for it. So, Okay, so let's think. Okay, now I know what we gotta do. We have to do a fire missile. A missile. You're gonna be amazed when you learn what this one is. It's when the pilot fires a missile. Fires a missile, which will follow a locked-on target. Which will follow a locked-on target. Which follow, yeah, a pilot will fires a missile which will follow a locked-on target. It will move its own speed. It will move its own speed as listed. Some things are going to be moving a lot faster. Some are going to be moving a little bit slower. And the big idea is that you, the player, are going to be able to navigate it. You can kind of readjust its rotation similarly. If it hits, if it just intercepts you, it's going to explode. And you've been hit by a missile. Which some of these things, you're going to be able to fire it off, and it's just going to hit you. Because it's going 8, and as long as it intercepts you, as long as it can trace a line directly to you without violating the 90% rule, the 90 degree rule, it's hit. You've been hit, and that's really bad. That's why missiles are kind of scary, is that you don't need to make a check. There's no check for it. That's one of the big things. There's no check for a missile. All it is you've hit and it's happening. So this brings me to fire cannon. Actually, if we do fire cannon, which is going to be cannon aggression, the pilot, the pilot lines up a shot with their cannon and fires at a target that is in front of them. That is directly in front of them. Let's see, and the pilot is opposed by the target's defense. Let's see. The pilot is opposed by the target's defense and defensive. So target's defense and target's defensive. So your defense might be 2. You might have a defensive of 3. You can spend those points to avoid getting attacked. That's the entire idea. And if you hit, you're going to do damage. Actually, a cannon token must be must be spent to perform the action. There we go. Not necessarily to hit, not to hit. And which actually we're going to a footnote, not to hit, just to perform the action. There we go. So you can't use the idea being you can't use the cannon to like gain a bonus to hit or something. You're using the cannon to do the action. That's kind of the idea. Which means heavier cannons are going to get just more attacks. And so that's usually the benefit. So fire missile, fire cannon. What's another good action? We're flying, we're maneuvering, we're firing missiles, and we are... Okay. Actually, we're going to do ascend. Altitude. The pilot increases their altitude, but reduces their speed. The speed by 1. And then we do descend, which will be altitude slash speed, which will be slash speed, reduce their speed by 1. The pilot decreases their altitude, but increases their speed by 1. So if you go up high, you have to go down low. Yeah, it's kind of the up high, down low. Actually, yeah. Let's see, is there anything else that I'm like directly missing? because avoiding a missile, because the idea behind like, oh, you're trying to avoid a missile is you're making a barrel roll to get out of the way where it can't hit you anymore. You know, you're spending an action to try to get into a location that the only place the missile can go is hitting a wall, and where it can no longer find you. It's making those kind of like really hard bank turns to avoid the missile hit, because they can't make those bank turns. Well, you're always trying to get behind them, so it's kind of like the game itself is more built around doing that. Can we spend aggression elsewhere? So we have brains making sense, unless we tie it to different actions. Unless we're tying it to different actions. So what else are we looking at? What else are we looking at? Can we use aggression? Where else can we use aggression? What else can we use aggression for? Nothing. It's really just for the cannon right now. Is there anything else I can use it for? I guess for... Well, that's when you're making an attack and you making... Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta add. I guess I should add the recovery option. You know, the recovery action. That very important action. That's kind of, you know, it's recover. You know, recover, which is everything. The pilot. In the pilot enters the. So that would be the refresh action. Refresh. The pilot gains back all of their recovery actions. As well as their panache. Because again, you can spend panache on anything. Panache can be subbed out for anything. Well, let's see. We have to do that. Not just hit, not hit. Pilot's missile locked on target will move its own speed as listed. Would be I guess we can try to do like a trail, which would be aggression / technique, which is the pilot attempts to follow a target when they move again. They will. No, that's not a very good one, because you're going to be trailing naturally, unless we're spending aggression on. What else can we spend aggression on, really? In the air. There's like one thing we're spending that on. That's like one I'm like, unless we can burn it elsewhere. Can we burn it elsewhere? Braking, accelerating, locking on, firing the missile. Ascending is fine. So let's just think accelerate. That makes sense. We're doing that. Altitude and speed. Very important. We're gaining that. Brake. Descend. Fire cannon. Fire missile. Fire lock on. Maneuver. Move. And refresh. I'll pay the constant perform. Actually, what I can do now is every action may only be used once per round. May only be used once per round unless marked with repeatable. Unless marked with R. Actually, R for repeatable. So what we can do is we can put in our R right here. We can do that with Fire cannons, because again, you have to spend it already. Fire missile. I guess we can repeat this repeatedly as long as you have a lock on, which again, it's kind of natural that you probably aren't going to have that. Actually, what we can do is break lock. Yeah, let's see. Breaking lock. The pilot attempts to break the lock. Break a lock on them by making an opposed check against the target's ECW and brain. But you're allowed to use aggression and technique for this, which makes it valuable up here for this one, for this maneuver, which is kind of the bushwhacker, break a lock, break a lock on, which is literally just spend 4 technique and it's just automatically broken. Rather than risking it, you can just say, I want to spend my aggression to try to break this lock. So let's see. There is. Feels like there's something I'm missing. What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I? You're gonna tell me what I'm missing. What is it? What am I missing? What am I missing? You're in a plane. Okay, let's close our eyes for a second. Let's think. Let's think together. We're in a plane. We're going very fast. That's the momentum phase. We're going fast. We're trying to avoid one another. It's my turn. I want to accelerate. That's my first path. I want to accelerate. I want to go faster. I want to increase my speed by 2. I'm going as fast as I physically can right now. Another enemy decides he wants to move. He's moving into an attack position. He's got my ass on. He can fire on me next turn. He can try to fire on me. I need to move next turn. My pass, I choose the action to move. I say I'm going to move my 6 inches. I'm going to move 6 inches kind of in a line to make sure that I could try to swing around. That's the idea. I want to spend my 6 inches to kind of do a little half spin. I half spin around and readjust myself kind of into an attack vector with him. Since he's already moved, he can't do anything, but he can perform a maneuver. So he chooses to perform a maneuver. He wants to try to do a let's say a break turn. He wants to try to perform a break turn. He wants to readjust himself as fast as physically possible. He's doing that. He's trying to set himself up. I'm trying to set myself up. We are currently just in a deadlock with one another. I guess we should add a trailing option. We add a trailing option. Actually, what I should add is attack ground target. That's usually a good. Maybe I should add something like that so that we can add like attack ground target. We'll do attack ground target cannon. Actually, cannon strafe ground. We'll do strafe ground target, which we will be expending our cannon aggression. Cannon and aggression, which we can do repeatedly. As long as we have it, we can do it. The pilot targets a ground target as long as they are at altitude 2 or less, and strafes them, dealing cannon damage, and strafes them. They are opposed. They are posed by the ground unit's defense, but any overage is bonus damage. So kind of the idea being that you're expending additional tokens to kind of do more damage. That's where you're expending more aggression. So we can do is bomb ground target, which is going to be a missile / bomb, which we can probably do. I'd say we can do missiles more than once. Yes. Missile. The pilot targets a ground target, and let's loose a missile or bomb. Missiles will travel toward the target to destroy, to deal damage. Bombs will drop directly down on top of them. Within a 2-inch radius. So it's kind of like, actually, we'll drop right down on. We'll drop directly below the plane. So you're expending a resource, and it's just going to drop below. If you have the really good ones, it's going to have a larger radius, so you kind of don't really need to correct it as much. You can be a little bit iffy on it. What am I looking at? What am I thinking? You got ground targets. You've got air targets. Ground targets are pretty much also sea targets, so I don't really need to think about that too much. Am I missing some? What am I missing? There's gotta be something I'm missing here. I know there's something I'm missing. You're expending resources to do a thing. We need to... No, I don't think there is. Anything I'm missing. Because maneuvers are entirely tied to the... Do I put in a trailing maneuver? Do I put in a trailing mechanic? How do we put in a trailing mechanic, though? Because... Okay, there's two options with the trailing mechanic. Either we do it a opposed speed check, which you have to spend aggression or technique equal to, we'll say aggression or brains equal to the technique. And if you succeed, if they move, you move. Like move half speed up to the target or something. I don't fucking know. Jesus. See, this is where things get a little bit complicated, because you can see it exactly how it plays out, but it's like, how do you word it? How do you do this? People, let's just think about it. You're flying around. You've engaged the target. There's 3 targets on your side, 3 targets on their side. You swoop in. You have the advantage. You're behind someone. You can spend aggression tokens. Spending aggression in your cannon token in an attempt to actually shoot one right in the noggin. You aim and you fire and you hit. You've dealt damage equal to whatever the cannon is, which is usually just going to be 1. You're reducing pretty much their ability to do things. You're reducing their luck. You're reducing their ability. You've dealt damage. and they're going to maneuver out of the way. They want to move. You only get one move around effectively, so you're kind of encouraged to try to sneak up behind someone unless you perform a maneuver to try to get behind them. So I guess what we can actually, that would be an option. What we can do is like we can do like a tailing move, which is going to be like the pilot moves half of their move. Actually, what we can do, we tie it to aggression / brain. The target moves up to, actually the pilot moves half speed. Moves half speed equal half speed, actually moves half speed. Actually, no, the pilot may move up to their, no, fuck. Is this it? I don't really use brain for much. Actually, I could probably do like critical maneuver. Critical maneuver, which is, critical maneuvers are primarily brain based, but it's like the pilot performs a critical maneuver. Performs a critical maneuver. Actually, what we can do is we can do identify, which is going to be mostly brain, which we can make that repeatable. Yeah, we can make that repeatable, with the idea being that the pilot expends brain. The pilot spends brain to identify the aircraft. Identify the aircraft, as well as identify the aircraft. May spend additional brain to determine speed and armaments. To determine speed, altitude, speed, armaments, or let's see, speed, armaments, or damage. There we go, something like that. Being like, what are we actually fighting? We're fighting this. Maybe like that'll be a good idea. I really don't know. I am grasping at straws right now. Because here's the secret. Like here's the nasty little secret. Because if we do like, what I'm basing this off of is specifically this mission. So you're kind of seeing the way he's flying, the way he's kind of moving around. Also, this is Ace Combat fan. The way he's kind of maneuvering around, the way he's firing things, it's not really precise, but it doesn't need to be precise. But it's like, okay, he's making a move, he's doing this, pass 1, pass 2, pass 3. It's kind of, you think of it like pause, he's doing something, moving, momentum, moving, action, fire some missiles, firing his cannon. That's 2 actions. He's moving, he's intercepted. The way he's kind of turning, the way he's moving. No, okay, so this should be okay. Not great, but it's something. It's something to work with. I think that's more important than anything right now. So we have this. You can repeat it, but usually if you're repeating something, you gotta expend something. You're expending. Okay, so we've got our basic actions. What else do I need? What else do I need? I guess what we can do is put this on its own page to wrap everything up, so I don't need to think about it too hard. I guess we can also put we will put it like right here, and then we'll put like what altitude is all about. Altitude. When a plane ascends or descends, they will increase or decrease their current altitude. There are, let's say there's 5 phases of, there's 6. There are 6 states of altitude. 0, grounded, i.e. you crashed. 1, which is skimming. 1, 2, which is neutral, which is actually low. 3, which is neutral. 4, which is high. And finally 5, which is going to be what would be like cloud chase. Actually would be cherubs. Actually no, it would be angel and then cherub. Now, if we really want to call this, we can call this hell. We can call this hell, and so this would be the purgatory. So it would be grounded, hell, purgatory, neutral, cherub, and angel. An angel. Actually, and so what we can do is lower any plane that is lower. Any plane that is lower than others, so lower than others can identify them and maintain visual planes that are higher can rapidly descend to gain speed, to gain additional speed. If altitude ever reaches zero, then the plane has crashed. Then the pilot has crashed into the ground. They will need to make a safe landing maneuver. Make a safe landing maneuver with a technique cost of either 1, 3, or 5. Safe ground 1, 3, or 5. Which we will do. Kind of the idea of safe ground, hostile ground, or treacherous ground. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit vague, but it's like I'm crashing into a mountain is going to be a little bit different than I am crashing into an open field. That's kind of, it's kind of the idea there. Like you're having to spend like a little bit, like a, actually what I should do is increase the tokens by like this. Being like, if you don't have any tokens, like you're not going to have a fun time. And I do talk about speed here, but I'm gonna take another section here. What we can do is speed loss, speed gain and loss. When a plane exceeds their max speed, they will expend handling tokens to maintain control. They will expend handling tokens equal to the excess of the speed, excess of the max speed. Speed, it would be insert footnote. If max speed is 6, then going 8 would incur a 2 handling cost to exceed the max speed. If they cannot afford the handling cost, the plane takes 1 step of damage. You've literally just gone too fast and your plane is breaking apart. Like, this is a plane not designed to go this quick. Let's see, the plane takes 1 step of damage. If the actually on the other side, if a plane ever reaches 0 speed, then they have stalled. Their engine has shut off, and they will plummet. And they will plummet to the ground. Reducing altitude by 1. Actually, reducing altitude by 2 every recovery phase. So yeah, if you stall out, you're going to reduce your altitude by 2. And remember, there's only 5 there's technically 6. So if you're at altitude, let's say 4, for example, you reduce it by 2, and you're currently now in purgatory. You are very close to the ground. Please recover or you're going to die. You hit 0, you've grounded. 2 for every recovery phase. If the stalled plane reaches 0 altitude, then the plane crashes, killing the pilot immediately. You can't recover from it. You don't have an engine. You aren't going any speed. There's no speed. There's no movement. You've just crashed. So it's kind of like, if you're going too fast, you're kind of taking damage, but if you're going too slow, you're going to just die. Actually, so this brings me to sustained plane damage. Plane damage and pilot survival. Actually, I know what we can do here. Haha, I've solved an issue. So, if a pilot is hit by an attack, they will first reduce their maximum panache. Is it CH? It is CHE. They'll reduce their maximum panache hit by an attack by the damage sustained. Maximum, and actually it should say maximum panache by the damage sustained, current and maximum panache to sustain. Sustained. However, if if the if the pilot does not have enough panache, let's see, enough current panache to actually enough current panache. If pilot does not have enough current panache, or is unable to, or does not have the maximum panache available, panache available, they will take direct damage. So each plane has 4 states of damage. Which, what am I calling it here? Actually, plane has 4. Let's see. Each plane has 4 steps of damage. Indicating the overall health of the plane. And they are very simple. It's because they're pretty much designed to be that way. Actually, no, we can do this. We'll take this one. We get rid of all of you. Hello, phone. So we can do damage, damage effects, and yeah. So okay, we'll do this description, and so damage is going to be none. So damage effect none. The plane is perfectly functional. Perfectly functional with no problems. We're going to do light damage, which is going to do -2 maximum speed. Actually, it's going to be negative. Let's say negative. Actually, 1 maximum speed. -2 handling. The plane has taken a hit. And is currently struggling. Recommended to RTB, return to base. Well, let's see, maximum handling and equipment and the actually and resource token -2 handling. Heavy damage, serious damage. So -2 maximum speed, -4 handling, -2 cannon or it would be or resource token knocked out. The plane has sustained massive damage, and cannot continue the fight in its current state. And then we have destroyed. Actually, what we could do is we'll call critical damage, which is plane is currently going down. Pilot can still eject. Actually, no, it's a loss of control. Actually, no, it's going to be -6 maximum speed, -8 handling. All all resources and cannon are knocked out. Or let's see, all resources and cannon are knocked out. Pilot can still eject, and losing altitude. Because remember, you hit it, you are going to die. The plane is lost, and is currently hurtling toward the ground for an explosive end. Technically, I should say there are 5 steps of damage for overall health of the plane, which is just annihilated. Plane explodes, killing pilot. The plane has detonated. The plane has detonated. If the pilot has not ejected during this time, they are lost. There we go. There we go. So let's say, for example, you take 4 damage. So let's say you take 4 damage, you don't have the panache, you take 3 damage. You'd say, okay, 1, 2, 3. You're at critical. You've taken critical damage. Like, you are going to lose speed, you're losing handling, you're losing altitude. You're pretty much you're knocked out. 3 damage over is bad. That's like a missile is pretty dangerous. Even if you've taken light damage, a missile can annihilate you immediately sometimes. Hence why panache is so important, because it allows you to kind of stay alive. Let's see. We'll do health of the plane and pilot survival when. So if a pilot is actually if the pilot is actually. When taking serious damage, the pilot makes the pilot will have to spend 2 aggression or 2 defense. Let's see. Pilot will have to spend 2 aggression or 2 defense tokens to avoid being seriously injured in the exchange. In the exchange, if they are injured, then they will lose access to. They will not recover any of their talent token. They will not recover any of their talent tokens during the refresh phase. So you've taken this much damage. You're going to have to pretty much make a check. Anytime you take damage more, you're going to have to spend 2 aggression or 2, it's 2 aggression or defense tokens to avoid being seriously injured. If you are injured, you can't recover. And that's kind of the issue. So it's like, well, you've got to spend this. So if you go a little bit aggressive or you go a little bit defensive and you can't really make up for it, you've lost some things. Your ability, aggression or defense tokens, avoid being seriously injured, exchange. A pilot may freely eject. When they are at altitude 3 or less. Actually, safe. It'd be safe ejection. Not safe ejection fragment. Safe ejection from plane. Let's see. Hmm. Is it feedback? Why would it be feedback then? Feel the aircraft carrier land. Yeah, it's things like, let's see. So minimal is 140 feet above counterpart, minimal ejection inverted flight of 100 feet equipped with that. So yeah, you don't want to, like, what's the maximum though? Like maximum. Altitude was 57,000 feet from a. So yeah, like you can go pretty fucking high. Yeah, you can go pretty high. I don't think anyone's gonna really. So you can just, yeah, you can just freely eject. Well, pilot may freely eject if they are above altitude 1. Pretty much 2 to 5 you can freely eject. Freely eject if they're above altitude 1. If a pilot is ejecting from altitude 1, they must expend 2 aggression tokens to survive to land unscathed. Let's see, they must expend 2 aggression tokens to land unscathed. If not, they are injured. They are downed and injured. So yeah, like at this point you're going to explode. At this point you're going to explode. Like it's like very easy to die in this game. And I kind of wanted to get that across, being like, yeah, you take a few hits, you're not doing hot. But that's what happens when you're in a giant plane going very fast. You're going to explode most likely. So, alright, so this is looking decent. I think combat should work. It's not perfect, but it should work. It will at least get me through things. From here, what we need to do now is either I put the planes first and then actually, you know what? That's what I will do. I'm going to put the planes first, and we want to do equipment of the mercenary. Actually, we should say mercenary arms dealer. A mercenary arms trade, which is going to be like the, hey, this is the section which is equipment. You're going to pick and choose your equipment and your initial planes during this phase, because I already kind of have a few of the planes. I have a few planes set up already, which I pretty much is going to be on Wednesday, most likely. I will go through and we will do the planes. All of them. There's going to be a lot of planes. Like, generally speaking, I'm looking at about 12 planes per major nation, so that's 24 plus 1 plane per minor nation, so that's going to be 24. Let's see, 24 plus 6. We're looking at about 34, 36 planes in total. Spread across a few different types. I need to just double check everything here just to make sure everything works. I'll probably get like a few of them done just so it's going to be a little bit easier. But for those curious, and kind of the initial thing is, the idea is that the blue ones are what we're going to call like solid attributes. These are things that are solid. They're not going to change really. While hard points are just the amount of guns and shit you can slap on the thing. How many missiles can you put on it? How many, things can you put on it? How fast you can actually go. As you notice, the speed isn't actually that high. It doesn't need to be super high. Cannon is pretty much, actually I should say, his cannons is going to be how many cannon dice you're going to have. And then here's all going to be our equipment types, just like kind of stuff you can slap on things. In addition to just the weapons in general. So, as you can see, like, Lightcraft aren't going to have that much, but they don't really have very high ECW either, because you're going to just spend brains doing that. You want to establish locks and shit like that manually, which is the hard part. So, yeah, I think I'm going to call it there for today. I'm going to work on getting the plane set up for Wednesday. That's kind of my plan. Once the planes are set up for Wednesday, we're just going to do that all day. It's literally just going to be a Notepad Must Die, where I literally just am going to sit down and we're just going to probably stare at a screen that looks like this for a couple hours. And I'm going to lose my fucking mind. So, yeah, I'm going to have fun. It's going to be great. So, thank you all. My name is Notepad Animal. Hope you had a wonderful time. And I will see you all on Wednesday. So, Godspeed, good luck, and all that jazz. See you when I see you. Goodbye.